welcome to the deep dive. You wanted to get informed quickly, thoroughly, and you sent us this, well, pretty thought-provoking blog post, The Dirty Secrets to Making Money in Africa While Young.
Right.
So our mission today is to unpack some of its, let's say, unconventional perspectives, ideas on building wealth before 40, specifically in an African context.
Yeah, and it definitely goes beyond the usual advice, doesn't it? It dives into what the author sees as the real rules, the ones people don't always talk about.
Exactly. Forget just hard work. This gets into something else.
What's striking right away is how it challenges that standard narrative.
Yeah.
You know, the one where qualifications and effort are everything. This source suggests other factors are, well, maybe just as important, maybe more important.
Okay, let's jump into the first secret then. Money circles. The blog argues pretty strongly that who you know often trumps what you know. It suggests your financial path is heavily influenced by your network. Specifically, are you connected to people with financial clout? People who, as they put it, sign checks. What's your take on that?
Well, it really hammers home the idea of social capital, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The actual tangible value you get from relationships. The source basically says that being in the right circles unlocks doors that might stay shut otherwise.
Right.
And their advice is pretty direct, maybe even a bit controversial. Join influential groups, like a specific church or a political party. It's about intentionally positioning yourself. Have you seen that kind of dynamic?
Oh, definitely food for thought. It makes you think. Okay, next up. Silent wealth. This one's interesting. Instead of shouting your successes from the rooftops.
Well, it can be tempting.
Yeah, totally. But this blog says build your wealth quietly, discreetly.
And the reasoning is?
To avoid unwanted attention. You know, pressure from family, maybe fake friends popping up, even attracting enemies, as they call them. The core message is, let your results do the talking, not your mouth.
That points to maybe a cultural thing, doesn't it? How success is perceived, how it's presented. In this context, the source is arguing that a low profile is actually a strategic advantage. It offers, protection. Does that resonate with what you understand?
It's definitely a contrast to the, very public displays of wealth you sometimes see. Okay, negotiation. The blog doesn't mince words here.
No, it doesn't.
Quote, only fools pay full price. It insists you should negotiate everything.
Everything,
land, jobs, business deals, the works. It even says you should prioritize reading books on negotiation.
So it's framing negotiation not as being difficult, but as just fundamental. A basic part of any transaction.
Yeah.
Value isn't fixed. It's something you arrive at through discussion.
Exactly. And if you don't negotiate...
You're just leaving money on the table, according to this view. You're missing a chance to maximize your gain. Is that something you actively do, negotiate everything?
Probably something I could work on. Okay, the fourth secret. This feels like a big one. Power and influence. This is pretty controversial. The blog basically claims that in Africa, access to power, not just your skills or merit, often dictates who gets the opportunities.
So it's not just what you know or even who you know, but who you know that has power.
Precisely. It advises aligning yourself with the decision makers, policymakers, business elites.
And how do they suggest doing that?
Through various ways. Business partnerships, friendships, even strategic marriages are mentioned. And sending your kids to expensive schools specifically to build those connections from a young age.
Wow. Okay, so that's a more structural point, isn't it? About how influence actually functions in that environment. The examples are blunt, but they show how important proximity to power is seen to be. It suggests a system where the decision makers really shape who benefits. What are your first thoughts on that?
It definitely raises questions about fairness, about access, doesn't it? Moving on. The blog kind of dismisses fast money.
The get-rich-quick idea.
Yeah. It argues that often leads right back to poverty. Instead, it pushes for building long-term wealth, real wealth.
Through what means?
Owning significant assets, things like land, corporations, entire industries. It contrasts this sharply with, quick flips or short-lived hustles.
Okay, so that sounds more like traditional wealth-building advice, actually. Prioritizing ownership.
Yeah.
Sustained growth. A long game.
Right. A patient vision.
Yeah.
Building a solid foundation, not just chasing quick wins. Does that long-term view resonate with your financial thinking?
Absolutely. It feels more sustainable.
Definitely feels more sustainable. Okay, finally, the last secret is about cash. Good old liquid cash.
Having money ready to go.
Exactly. Having a war chest, as they call it. The argument is simple. Opportunities pop up fast. unexpectedly.
And if you've got cash on hand.
You can seize them, while others are, quote, still thinking or trying to free up funds.
That really speaks to financial agility, right? Liquidity gives you options. It lets you act quickly. Whether it's buying an undervalued asset or jumping on a new venture, you're not stuck. How ready do you feel generally to act on sudden opportunities like that?
It's a good reminder to stay prepared. So let's recap for everyone listening. This blog post outlines some pretty direct, maybe even harsh, unspoken rules for getting wealthy in Africa before 40.
It emphasizes strategic relationships.
Being discreet about your success.
The absolute need to negotiate.
Leveraging power and influence.
Focusing on long-term assets, not just quick cash.
And always maintaining financial readiness, that cash war chest.
Yeah. So, thinking about these dirty secrets, as the author calls them, what parts really stick out to you? What resonates most with your own understanding of how opportunity and success work, maybe specifically in the context we're discussing?
That's the key question, isn't it?
It really forces you to consider these sometimes uncomfortable factors that might be shaping financial outcomes.
Exactly. It prompts you to think. Which of these principles, provocative as they are, might actually hold some truth, or might be relevant, even if challenging, to your own perspective or journey? Something to definitely mull over. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.